YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. In today's video, we're ranking the right tackles for the 2020 NFL season. Just recently did the left tackles, splitting them up because there's so many good ones here. We also ranked quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, and we're going to move on to defense after this. Then we'll start ranking units, teams by their offense, their defense. We got you covered here, as you can tell, at the Goat House. Again, these are basically predictions. These are for the 2020 season. We're moving forward here. Would appreciate your support. Trying to reach 60K subscribers by week 1 of the NFL. I think very doable, so really appreciate you guys there. We'll have you covered with all kinds of predictions. Nobody covers the NFL like the Goat House. So you're going to want to subscribe. Follow that Twitter. We got polls, always talking NFL, and then we have a podcast as well. So anything you're trying to check out that's on the screen there will be a link in the description and the comments of every single video. So every starting right tackle in the NFL, some of these I got to predict who's starting at right tackle, and there's a couple teams that could go a different route, and we're going to talk about them right now. Starting at the bottom with the Miami Dolphins, Jesse Davis currently is their right tackle. Really struggled last year. They drafted Austin Jackson, who I included in the left tackle video. I believe he'll start or play majority of the season at left tackle. They do have Julian Davenport, which I think is a left tackle. Could be a backup left tackle. Maybe he moves to right. They drafted Robert Hunt from Louisiana Lafayette, who I like a lot. The guy's a beast, especially in terms of run blocking. He played right tackle, but you just get the guard feeling. You think he can actually be a future Pro Bowl guard. That's my take, just based on his body, his strength, and where his strengths were on the field, which is run blocking. So they drafted him. He did play right tackle, so he's probably an upgrade at right tackle. But again, we're talking future Pro Bowler potential for me at right guard. So I believe he starts at guard, but that puts the right tackle situation at the bottom of the NFL. That's the unfortunate thing here. The Jets at 31, Chuma Odoga from USC a few years ago. So Sam Darnold, a USC connection with Odoga there, obviously. But it's another tough one because the Jets also got George Fant, who is the athletic tackle from Seattle, who kind of struggled a bit too. And they drafted Cameron Clark, who I like, who can play some tackle. There's some talk about him going to guard, but Adoga, I think gets the job here, but it's really up in the air. So that's kind of my prediction. Either way, they're towards the bottom here, unfortunately. Cincinnati Bengals right tackle Bobby Hart, which was kind of a surprising signing last offseason, was a little overpaid. Not a lot of guys knew who he was. He's coming in at number 30 here. I think a little bit of a step-up season for him. Not a whole bunch there, though. 29, the Rams, Rob Havenstein. Really struggled last year. The whole offense line as a unit struggled. So you would think before last year probably ranked a little better in this. But, based on last year and what I could expect going forward here, based on the unit not helping them a whole bunch, I got him at 29. Brandon Shell goes to the Seattle Seahawks. I think he can step up, still towards the bottom here, but that's based on where his play was last year as well. Was a little towards the bottom, but a little higher than maybe if you were ranking last year. I think he can step up a little bit for Seattle. They could start Ogbuye they got from the Jaguars, but I think they go Shell at right tackle. But, a lot of these teams have some question marks here on who they'll actually start. And then the Lions' new right tackle, Big V here, they get from the Philadelphia Eagles at number 27. Small question mark here because he was more of a guard. He was better at guard for the Eagles. He was depth at right tackle, did have the start at some times. But the way they paid him tells me right tackle. Who else they also got on their team, draft-wise, tells me, in terms of guard, tells me that Big V is going to play right tackle. So a bit of a question mark there how he will play. So that's definitely a guy to look out for. They did pay him a pretty good amount. Another tough one is the Titans. This is kind of my prediction here. I think Dennis Kelly, their right tackle, starts early in the year. I think he starts week 1. I think Isaiah Wilson plays majority of the season. So I think that's why I included Isaiah Wilson here. Dennis Kelly pretty solid as well, and they paid him a decent amount of money, so that's tough. But they dropped Isaiah Wilson in the first round, and it's a pure fit. He wasn't really a first-round talent for me, but you see the fit. It starts to grow on you. He's a dominant run blocker, perfect for, the scheme for blocking for Derrick Henry. He's going to have to improve as a pass blocker. It's not going to be anything terrible or anything, but I think he gets majority of starts. So that's why I ranked the rookie Isaiah Wilson here. 25, a rookie from last year for the Atlanta Falcons, Caleb McGarry, struggled a bit in his first year. I was a little surprised how early they took him. I thought he was a second-round guy, but I think he can step up this year. So Kaleb McGary will be a young right tackle starter for the Atlanta Falcons. Moving on. Rick Wagner now with the Packers at 24. He will start at right tackle, replacing Brian Bulaga, of course, which is some tough shoes to fill. He really struggled recently at the Lions. Based on last year, he probably towards getting close to that very bottom. I think he can step it up. Packers they're well coached on the offensive line. You got Aaron Rodgers adjusting things to the line. So I have him stepping up a little bit, but he has really been struggling and tough shoes to fill there for Bulaga, obviously at right tackle. Marcus Gilbert, seen injured last year, struggled the year before, but has been very solid in the past. So another one, kind of a question mark, which Marcus Gilbert's going to show up. It's been some time since we've seen him play at a pretty high level. So I got him at number 23. Morgan Moses, another guy that needs to stay consistent. Earlier in his career, I kind of liked him, struggled at times in the past, so it's kind of an inconsistency problem here. Has those flashes. I got him at number 22. Bobby Massey of the Bears. I think he had some injuries that popped up last year. The year before, really both the tackles in 2018 played lights out, and then last year was pretty disappointing. I know Massey had his injuries pop up. But, it's kind of up in the air what we're going to get from him, too. I think the Bears' offensive line could step it up a little bit this year because I think they were a little bit of a blocking scheme change last year because they were trying to run RPO. Quarterback couldn't do it. They kind of had to switch things up. They had to take a chunk of the playbook, put it aside, use the other chunk. So I think blocking schemes changed, which resulted in them struggling. Titus Howard, based off last year's rookie year, obviously wouldn't rank him here, had some injuries. But I like Howard. I like his potential. He was a guy, the upside guy. So I think he steps up this year, plays right tackle for them, obviously. And then number 19, I got Taylor Moton. This could be a sneaky good guy here. Right tackle for them. They're going to play Russell Okung at left tackle, ranked him with the left tackles. Moton is a guy with a lot of upside, of course. And I think he could step up. New coaching staff. They worked really well. I think Rule's a good. I think both sides of the ball. He'll contribute for the offensive line, of course, as well. But we see what Joe Brady did with LSU and how much that offensive line improved. I think so. I think Taylor Moton can kind of see his potential start to rise. So it's a guy that actually by the end of the year we can talk about being better than number 19. Matt Filer of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pretty impressive. He wasn't really supposed to be anything special. Pretty impressive last couple of years, and he hangs around there for the Steelers for another year at least here. But yeah, I think kind of the middle of the pack here. Cody Ford at 17. Question about him playing. Will he play guard at the next level? Will he play tackle? I really like the idea of keeping him at right tackle because that's where he impressed at Oklahoma. And he started to come alive there down the stretch of the season. So Cody Ford is a guy that has a lot of upside, of course, young Oklahoma product. On to the top 16. I got some rookies in here. Getting a little, I don't think it's too bold, but maybe to some people it is, and this is predicting this year. Andrew Thomas, I think will play right tackle. Some people, it's not a lock. I'm not saying it's a lock or anything. Some people think he'll play left, and maybe Fleming or Matt Pert will play right tackle. I think Solder, he struggled last year, but I think he's still got a little left in the tank. I think there's a reason they're keeping him around right now. So I think Solder can play left tackle. Andrew Thomas can dominate the right tackle position. It's still up in the air what will happen there. If Solder all of a sudden gets cut or they try to move him or something, that kind of tells us, yeah, Thomas is probably starting at left tackle, so we can make the changes. But I think he could be a very solid right tackle, very good run blocker, which they're going to want to do first. Pass protection, I think maybe there's going to be times he can struggle a little bit, but nothing major there. So I got him cracking the top 16. I got Jack Conklin at number 15. Big contract for him. I've never really been a Jack Conklin guy. He's a tremendous run blocker. If we're talking run blocking alone, much better than 15, which the Browns do want to do. They want to run the ball a lot, but they got the weapons at tight end, receiver. They're going to want to throw the ball too. Conklin's pass protection scares me a bit. Seems to be on the ground a little bit too much for my liking, almost a little bit too much to rank him 15, but the fit in the run blocking really boosts him up. I know some people I think they look at the contract and what, Derrick Henry's success. Yeah, he's really good run blocker, but he does need to work on his pass protection. Even, as a prospect, I worried about his pass protection as well. I almost felt like, could he play guard because he's such a, really his only strength is run block. He's very good at it. I got a rookie actually up here at 14, Tristan Wirfs, and he wasn't even my, top prospect in terms of a tackle, even though he was a top prospect. It's still, but I think Tristan Wirfs will be the best of those tackle prospects in the first season, in the rookie year, going in there, kind of the last piece of the puzzle of that offensive line. Bruce Arians with Tom Brady making the adjustments to the line. So I think he already plays like a top 15 tackle and could make his way out very early in his career as a rookie here. So that's pretty impressive. So I do have him at 14. Jawan Taylor at 13. So I'm obviously predicting him a big step up this year. I was very high on Jawan Taylor as a right tackle coming out of Florida there. He was very impressive. He was very impressive on tape, especially against the top-tier talent, playing Josh Allen of Kentucky just a year ago. So games like that really stood out. I think he's got the really quick feet, the great hands, strong hands, a combination of everything that makes today's right tackle. So I think this is going to be a solid one, potentially a Pro Bowl one in the making here. So I think he steps up this year, kind of banking on that. We'll see. Next, I got Mike McGlinchey at 12. I think you can compare him to Jack Conklin a little bit. I think a little better version. Really good run blocker. I don't want to say he struggles in pass protection, but there are moments where the really good pass rushers off that right side, well, they're looking from the offensive line's perspective, right side of the line. He does struggle a bit. With those guys that have a good combination of power and speed. So that's kind of what's keeping him outside the top 10, but a very solid run blocker, obviously a key part. You kind of notice him when he gets outside and actually blocks downfield. That's very impressive. Marcus Cannon, the Patriots right tackle at number 11. A few years ago, this guy's getting pretty close to top 5, probably top 5 if we're talking maybe more than a couple years ago, maybe more a few years ago, 4 years ago. This guy was, pretty dominant at one point. Seen him show out in the playoffs. I think he's declined a little bit. Offensive line really wasn't the same last year, but he definitely can step up. But I still got him in a pretty good rank here at number 11. Orlando Brown of the Ravens played very well there at right tackle last year opposite of Ronnie Stanley. And then, Orlando Brown, I think, ended up in the most perfect situation because, pre-draft process out of Oklahoma a couple years ago, you remember, towards the maybe not the top, but middle of the first round is kind of where he started. And every step of the way of the pre-draft process, he fell. The combine happened. Super unathletic. He kept falling down. The question was, does he fit today's NFL, especially right tackles? You want more of the athletic guy, but he ended up in a perfect situation because there's a lot of power man blocking with the Baltimore Ravens here, and that is perfect for him, and that's where he can showcase his skills. So he probably wouldn't be ranked this high if he was on another team, but at the end of the day, he's on this team. That's the system that fits him best, and he's playing very well and continuing to get better. Brain Smith, another very good run blocker. Impressive pass protection. Maybe not as good as pass protection as some of the guys that will be ahead of him. That's why they're in the top 8. But impressive still because, him a few years ago, you expected him to probably be a guard because that's where his strength was. He's a run blocker, but super impressed with him and how he's able to play right tackle, how he's able to pass protect. But he's a very solid run blocking tackle. Pass protection could improve, but still good enough to put him inside the top 10 for sure. Coming in at number 8, it's going to be Brian O'Neill of the Vikings. Really carries this Vikings offensive line, brutal offensive line group here. A guy that a couple years ago was kind of known as a raw, just athletic guy. We're going to have him sit for a few years, but because of injuries and because of poor play, they threw him in earlier than they want to, and right off the bat, very impressive and getting better every step of the way. Pass protection, run blocking, I think he's evenly very solid there. He's getting better every step. We talked about, he's kind of that athletic guy, needs to put some size on, so you expect him to be, much better in the future. So this guy's still got potential. I always say you're as good as your unit. Sometimes your unit can weigh you down. Sometimes your unit can make you look better. But, he's still looking very solid, even though that unit's really struggling. So I like Brian O'Neill a lot. He comes in at number 8. Jawan James at number 7. This might surprise some people, the people that kind of look at last year. Jawan James was hurt last year. He got a big contract. Why? Because he was one of the better right tackles in football, coming from the Dolphins, and the Dolphins really missed him, but the Broncos really missed him last year as well. This guy's a beast. How will he be after the injury? It seemed like he kept trying to come back. Injury kept popping up. So that slight concern kind of keeps me from putting him where I think he can be. His talent realistically could be a top 5 right tackle in football here. So hopefully he stays healthy. He's definitely a good one. Brian Bulaga at number 6. The Chargers grab him from the Green Bay Packers. About staying healthy for him too, because he's been I mean, a load of unfortunate injuries in his career. Last year, only one. He got knocked out of the 49ers game in the regular season. That was about it there. Such an important piece to allow Aaron Rodgers to roll out right. We all know what Aaron Rodgers does when he rolls out right. So Bulaga made that happen, and there's a little bit difference of a quarterback, whether it's Herbert or Tyrod Taylor compared to Phillip Rivers. So we're going to see some more rollouts here. The Chargers had a plan here, so it's about staying healthy, but it's a very good, important piece here, the veteran Brian Bulaga. La'el Collins at number 5. Maybe could be a little more consistent. He'll have those moments that pop up that you wish, you definitely wish want back. But I think he has a load of potential still. Obviously, the Cowboys stole him undrafted a few years ago. That was pretty wild. But yeah, very impressive right tackle. They know how to find the offensive lineman. So I expect him to step up even further here. Maybe, as good as Tyron Smith is, maybe we could talk very soon be talking about La'el Collins being that strength, even though they're both strong, of that offensive line, or of the tackle position, I should say. And now we're on to the big top 4 here. Number 4, I got Trent Brown from the Raiders. Had some injuries last year, but coming from the Patriots the year before, going to the Raiders, he kind of came out of nowhere with the Patriots that year. I thought he was a top tier. I thought he had an elite football season that year at the Patriots. Then going to the Raiders, big contract, you worry. That Patriots effect, when guys leave, they're just not as good. But when he was in there, you see the difference. He looked absolutely dominant, and I think he's getting better every step of the way. Big Trent Brown fan. He comes in number 4. Top 3, very tight. Top 3 kind of separate themselves a little bit. Lane Johnson, who I'd probably put, if this was last year, I'd probably put at number 2. Still, they're all 3 tight, maybe considering 1. Obviously a beast of that offensive line, a very consistent right tackle. Now they don't have Brandon Brooks right next to him in the right guard position, so maybe you have to pick it up a little bit, but obviously a dominant right tackle for them. The reason I put Ryan Ramczyk ahead of him is because I still think, Ryan Ramczyk's getting better because he's still young. Lane Johnson, Mitchell Schwartz probably at their peak, even though for some reason it feels like Schwartz is getting better every game. But Ryan Ramczyk's still a young, solid option. Only gave up 1 sack last year, and that was in the playoffs. So very impressive, improving every step of the way. I always mention kind of the story. You kind of backtrack to when Ramczyk was drafted by the Saints. It was kind of a surprising pick. Yeah, we knew Ramczyk was worthy of around that range, the late first round. But the Saints have felt like they had a good offense line. They're a set offense line, but they know when to recoup the offense line to get them ready for the future. But on top of that, he ended up being dominant right away. So that's the impressive part about Ryan Ramczyk. Mitchell Schwartz, even though I said the top 3's tight, I think it's pretty clear. Mitchell Schwartz is absolutely dominant right tackle. We've seen him go to the left side of the line too, and they double up, and the same with the right. They double up the tackles, but so dominant in run blocking, so dominant pass protection. See him block 2 guys in one play so many times. Such a key piece to that offense, to that play calling, to Patrick Mahomes' success. The whole season, but that playoff performance was absolutely ridiculous. There was nothing. And the best of the best are playing in the playoffs. There was nothing getting by this man at any time. So, even some of the, goal line runs, using Damian Williams. Just when offensive linemen stand out that much, because when you're watching football, you're not really watching for offensive linemen. At the start of the play, and when you're watching maybe replays, watching the tape back, maybe you are. But when you're watching live, your eyes are on the quarterback. Your eyes are on, where you think the ball's going. But without trying, this guy just stands out so many times, and you can appreciate the game so much. Schwartz, even though top 3 very tight, it wasn't too tough for me to rank Schwartz at number 1. So that's my number 1 right tackle. That's my top 32 there. Let me know your thoughts. Some of these guys, there's a chance they might not even start. There's a battle going on. Some guys could switch positions, so I'm really looking forward to those, how teams actually start there. Maybe as we get closer to the season, we can actually predict the depth chart, who's starting for each team. That'd be pretty cool. So that's something we can do in the future. We're going to keep on going on with these rankings, though. A lot of rankings to come out, a lot of predictions to come out. We got our podcast rolling. We got in-season predictions like crazy. So you're going to want to subscribe to both channels. You're going to want to follow that Twitter for updates and more NFL talk. Smash that like button. We really appreciate that as well. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.